Alright, Salutated Skipoli. We're just going to do a real quick review of the cases that you guys learned in level one. For the level ones from 2019, go along with us. I think you might know one or two more case uses, but that's okay. Just these are the ones we're going to focus on, making sure that everybody knows. Okay, so let's start with the nominative case, right? The easy one. The nominative case is used for subjects and for predicates. So if we take a look at the sentence, puella ingeniosa est. So we have the puella, right? So she is the subject. She is the one who is performing the action, which is est, which is just a state of being. And then um, ingeniosa is a predicate. The girl is smart. Ingeniosa is just clarifying the subject. So it is giving us further information and completing the meaning of the verb to be. So ingeniosa is a predicate because it completes the meaning of the verb to be. Anytime you have another noun completing the meaning of the verb to be, that is when you're dealing with a predicate, and therefore it's in the nominative case. And just a reminder, these are all of your nominative endings, the top row being singular, the bottom row being plural. Remember that third declension, the nominative form is unpredictable. So this is one of those forms that it'll always be the first form in the dictionary that you see. And this is a form that if you ask me for a word, I will give you the nominative form. All right, so let's go then to the accusative case. So the accusative case is a direct object. And if you're like, oh, I don't even remember what a direct object is, let's go ahead and work through the sentence so you can see that. So, Puella Flores tenet. The girl is still the subject, and she is still performing the verb. So remember, the subject is performing the verb. So tenet is holds. So Puella holds, so the girl holds, and what she's holding is the flores. So that means the flores is your direct object because it is receiving the action of the verb. So when we were in class, normally this is when I would take bubo and magistra nominativa, so subject, dat gives bubonem, the accusative, bubo, to the and then we'll eventually add in an indirect object, but receiving the action of the giving or what is being given. So in this sentence, the flowers are what are being held. So then when you look at your accusative endings, remember, flores comes from flos, flores. So that genitive ending is, making it third declension. She is holding multiple flowers, so that's why we chose as the plural of third declension. Okay, so then this is where that dative comes in. So we have dative for an indirect object. If you're like, oh, indirect object, just remember this is whoever something is to or for. So magistra cartam puellae dat. So we have magistra. Magistra is your nominativus, is your nominative, your subject, because she is performing the verb of dat. Oops, I didn't animate that. I'm sorry. So magistra dat. So magistra gives, and what she's giving is the cartam, the accusative direct object, and she is giving it to the indirect object, to the girl. So magistra nominativus subject performs the verb dat and performs the verb on cartam, the accusative direct object, and then the receiver of the direct object, or who it is to or for, is puella in the dative. And you can see your dative endings below. Then we have genitive. So genitive is using possession, or in general, we just say anything that you're trying to say of something. So magistra cartam scientiae puellae dat would be our sentence. So magistra nominativus, still the subject, is performing the verb dat, and she is performing the verb still on kartam, the accusative direct object, so accusativus kartam, and scientiae is actually your genitive. It's not really showing possession, but it is further clarifying. So it is the paper of knowledge. So this is where that of something is coming in. So magistra cartam scientiae puellae dat. And then you still have puellae as your indirect object. Just so that you can see, remember the genitive endings as you go across the declension in the as you go across the declensions in the singular. Notice that they are the same regardless of gender in each declension. And remember, that is the form. The second form, that if you ask me for a word, that's the second form I'll give you to help you identify which set of endings you should use. Ablative, then. These are the things that are by or with, and this is kind of something that we use towards the end of the semester, and this is where we will really be starting working. So on Monday, hopefully when I'm back with you guys, what we'll be doing is we'll be starting to demonstrate the ablative case in its real, true forms with passive verbs. So 2019, you remember passive verbs, hopefully, so this shouldn't seem too crazy. So we have puella cartam a magistra datur. So we have puella is your subject now, and she is datur. So she is not performing the verb, because notice that tur ending on, that's what we call a passive verb. So the girl doesn't give. The girl is being given. And my 2020 level ones, you don't worry if that's not making a ton of sense right now, but 2019's level ones, hopefully that is making some sense. So the verb is still being performed on the accusative in a way. So the girl is being given a paper, cartam, accusativus, and it's being done a magistra, by magistra. So magistra is in the ablative case. Notice that we have an a with it. And a is one of your prepositions. So level ones from 2020, you probably hopefully remember some of your prepositions. So that a is taking the ablative case. All right, and ablative case, if you're feeling a little bit shaky on this one, that's okay. All right, so let's go ahead and just work through a couple sentences really quick, just make sure we're all feeling this. Notice that I have your chart over on the right side, so please make sure you're kind of following along, finding the case, lining it up, etc. So, puella pilam lucas puero dat. So we have the girl. She is your subject, nominativus, and she is performing the verb dat. So the girl gives, and the item that she's giving is the pilam. Notice the am. So that's this am, accusativus. And she's giving the ball, puero, from puer, pueri, to the boy. So now all I have left to deal with is Lucas. And this is from Lux. Lucas. Oh, so that's genitive. So this is the ball of light. So the girl gives the ball of light to the boy. All right, next sentence. Kiba thermapolii bona sunt. So kiba is from kibum, kibi. So in order for us to have that a on the end, kiba is nominativus. Could also be accusativus. However, it's the first word of the sentence. It's most likely the subject, right? So let's go with that. So kiba, nominativus. Sunt is a form of the verb to be, right? And it is plural, so it makes sense for kiba. So are, and then bona, from bonus, bona bonum. It would make sense for this a to be nominative plural, because kiba is neuter, so bona can also be neuter. So I'm just saying that the foods are good. And the only thing I have left to deal with is thermopolii. So we know this comes from thermopolium, thermopolii. Oh, so and then the I, I. So this is a genitivus. So kiba, the foods of the thermopolium. So the foods of the thermopolium are good. Everything is accounted for. We roll with it. Camelus ambulatur a me. So this is your camelus, us, second declension. So the camel. Ambulatur. This is that passive verb thing again happening that we're going to start working on next week. So this is walks. So the camel is walked a me, by me. And that makes sense. Sorry, folks, that is my daughter. She just woke up. I'm waking. Okay, can you just go in the other room for just a minute while I finish? Okay, thank you. Wow. All right, sorry, folks, that was my daughter. All right, so onward we go. Last sentence. Marcus in insula regis cum multis hominibus habitat. So, Marcus is my subject. He habitat, dwells. In takes the ablative to mean in or on. So, insula from insula, insulae. Insula can be ablative. So, in the apartment. Regis from rex, regis would be genitivus. So Marcus lives in the apartment of the king, cum multis hominibus. Cum also takes the ablative, hominibus, from homo, hominis. Ibus could be dative or could be ablative. Cum needs an ablative. So multis hominibus would mean with many men or with many people. The whole sentence makes sense. So Marcus, nominativus, performs the verb habitat, lives or dwells, in insula regis, in the apartment regis of the king, cum multis hominibus, with many people. All right, I hope that works for your review of cases. If you realize you have any questions, please make sure to write them down and we will address them when I'm back in person with you guys on Monday. All right, make sure you continue doing what has been assigned for the rest of the day, and while late.